Hello everyone, good evening. This is Kiran the trainer joining. Guys, can you hear me? Can anyone quickly give me a confirmation?
Yes. Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So apologies, there was some code that I did not get to start the recording, so I had to wait in the lobby. Thank you anyways everyone for waiting. Okay, now let me go ahead and share my screen. One of you please quickly confirm once my screen share is visible to you guys.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, fantastic. Cool. Thank you. So, uh, from today onwards, which is our day one class, we're going to get started with our course curriculum. And now on our website, we have the course curriculum clearly available. I'll also give it on the chat. And we'll quickly get started with chapter 1. So in chapter 1, I'll try to talk about the first 2 points in today's class. So the very first thing that we have to understand is what is an API, right? Because the course is all about API automation testing. So before we dive into automation testing of APIs, we should know what is an API and why do we have these APIs in place. Now, I will give you some definition of an API, but I'll also make it clear to you from a diagrammatical representation so that you clearly remember what exactly is an API. Okay, so let's start with the basics. API stands for application programming interface. Okay, that is the abbreviation given. And coming to the definition of an API, I will write it, but I will also give a e-commerce example and make my definition clear to you guys. So let me write the definition and then I'll explain it. So an API is an interface developed to enable data transfer or data communication across multiple modules in an enterprise software, okay, or in an enterprise application. This is the definition of an API. Okay, so the purpose of an API is to enable data communication or data transfer between multiple modules which are present in a software. Now let's try to prove it with an example. So all of us are pretty much familiar with the e-commerce applications that we see on a daily basis, right? So let's take Amazon as an example. What I'll do, I'll draw a small diagram here. Let's say this is my Amazon application. And let's say there are a couple of modules present. So this is module 1. This is module 2. This is module 3. And this is module 4. Okay. Amazon has so many modules, but I'm just sticking to 4 modules for our simple understanding. So this is my Amazon application. Okay. And let's say this is the login module. And let's say this is the logout module. And let's say this is add to shopping cart module. And let's say this is make payments module. Okay, we'll talk about only these simple 4 modules for our understanding. What we have to discuss now is, are these 4 modules independent of each other or they are dependent of each other? So maybe I'll try to see I'll try to get answers from you. So I would like you guys to comment about the dependency matrix. Okay. So I would like you guys to comment, is login module and logout module, do you think they are dependent of each other or independent of each other? What do you think, guys? In general, the login and logout, they are dependent or independent?
Independent.
Login module is independent and logout is dependent on login module.
Correct. So which means if I have to say holistically, login and logout, they are dependent on each other. Like login is not, see, you can log in only if you are logged out, right? And you can log out only if you are logged in. So I would say login is dependent on logout. Logout is also dependent on login, right? Example, if I say, I will take Karthik as an example. So if Karthik is already logged in, he cannot log in again. He can log out now. If Karthik is logged out, only then he can log in, right? So just think, close your eyes and think. Login and logout, mutually they are dependent on each other. Okay, now let's talk about another module. Let's say login and add to shopping cart module. Think carefully. Are they dependent on each other or independent of each other? You can take Amazon, Flipkart, any example.
Dependent only. Yeah.
Okay, dependent is done.
Yeah. After login only, we can able to do the shopping.
Okay, this is add to shopping cart, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
Once you log in, then only you can go to add cart.
Okay, let's see it. So I'm taking you guys to amazon.in. Why am I seeing this message? Yeah. Okay, if you see here, I'm not signed in, right? It says hello and it is asking me to sign in. So I'm not signed in. Let's say I wanted to buy some headphones. And you still see I'm not signed in. See, I can click on add to cart. And you see the item is successfully added to my shopping cart. So did it prompted me to log in? No, right? See, I'm still not logged in. Now only I have to log in if needed. But the item is still present in the shopping cart. So now what is the answer? Are they independent of each other or dependent on each other?
Independent.
Okay, it is independent. Okay, I'm talking specific to Amazon only. Maybe some other e-commerce applications might force you to log in. That's different. But I'm just taking Amazon as an example. Okay, next question I would like you guys to talk about. Make a payment module and login module. What do you think? These two, are they dependent on each other or independent of each other?
Independent.
They're dependent.
Okay, so my answer is they are dependent on each other, because if you have not made a login, you cannot make a payment. Let me just try to prove it. So if I again go to Amazon, https://www.amazon.in, and if I go to any one product, you see I'm able to click on add to cart, or if I directly click on buy now, it is asking me to log in, without which I cannot make a payment. Hence, I would say make a payment and login module are dependent on each other. Similarly, another question to you guys, make a payment and add to cart. What is it? Dependent on each other or independent of each other?
Dependent.
Make a payment.
It is a dependent only, right? So
Yes, dependent.
Correct.
Independent.
No, dependent, right? See, if your items
dependent.
are not correct, if there are no items in the shopping cart, why will you make a payment? You don't have to make a payment, right? If the items are not present in the shopping cart. Because we are not doing charity, right? In Amazon.in website or any other website, we're not doing charity. Both are dependent on each other. Okay, so now you understood the dependency matrix between these four modules. Now, why am I talking about this dependency and independency? You will come to know right now. So let us say I will take one example here. Let's say I'm talking about Mr. Mayank here. And let's say Mayank has logged in into Amazon.in application on his browser. And after some time, he clicked on logout. Okay. Now what happens is when he clicked on logout, we already agreed that logout is dependent on login. So when Mayank clicks on logout, what logout will do is it will make a function call. Okay, it will make a function call, meaning a request will be sent by logout to login, and the request will be Mayank wanted to log out. Is he actually logged in? That is the request sent by logout to login. What login module will do is it will check with the internal database and find out whether Mayank is still logged in or he was already logged out, meaning his session timed out. So whatever answer the database gives, login module will give back a response through a function call to logout module. And the response could be, yes, Mayank is still logged in. Now you can log him out. Or the response from login could be, Mayank's session has timed out, so he's already logged out. Based on the response coming from login, logout module will take a decision. You see here, login and logout are talking to each other. They are communicating with each other by sending a request and receiving a response in the form of making a function call. Note that point. I'll come back to this again. Let us say Mayank again logged in and he clicked on make a payment. Okay, maybe he wanted to buy some, let's say iPhone 16. He clicked on make a payment. Immediately, make a payment will send a request function call to login, says Mayank wanted to purchase something. Is Mayank logged in? Again, login will check the internal database and gives a response. Let us be a little optimistic here. So login says, yes, Mayank is logged in. So here you see two modules are communicating with each other. They are transferring data with each other in the form of sending a request and receiving a response. Request is like, is Mayank logged in? Response is like, yes, Mayank is logged in. Again, since make a payment is also dependent on add to cart, according to our diagram here, make a payment will send a request to add to shopping cart and says, Mayank is logged in. So tell me if he has added any items in the shopping cart. Then again, this will also check internally whether Mayank has added any shopping cart items or not. And if yes, he has added shopping items, or if he has not added shopping items, it will check with its internal database and finds out what is the cart value for Mayank, and it will give a response back to make a payments module. So here, if you see again, make a payments module is communicating with add to shopping cart module, and add to cart module is talking to make a payments module by sending request and response. If you look at this diagram, there is a lot of traffic. It looks like an outer ring road. If you see, lot of traffic is happening between these four modules, and all the modules are continuously talking to each other. Okay, I said continuously talking to each other. The reason is Mayank is not the only person who is using Amazon.in, right? Kiran is also a user. Pallavi is also a user. John is also a user. So many people are using Amazon. You never know which user is clicking on which button, right? So all the modules which are dependent on some other modules, they send a request and expect a response. So your outer ring road is full of traffic, meaning this traffic that you see green color, pink color, orange color, it is a continuous process where requests and responses are exchanged between multiple modules. Now the question is, how are they able to communicate with each other? Like I simply draw a line and said, okay, this guy is sending a request and that guy is giving a response. But how are they communicating with each other? Right. So like how am I communicating with you? I'm a human being. So I have mouth, I can speak. That's why I'm communicating with you. How are you able to listen to me? You're also a human being. You have ears. You are able to listen to me. So the sense organs that human being has is helping both of us to communicate with each other. But these are modules, they're all artificial pieces. They don't have sense organs like us. So they need a technology to communicate with each other. That technology is nothing but this API technology. So these modules are talking to each other using API technology. So all the green lines. Okay, the green lines, the pink lines, the orange lines. API is the technology these modules are using to send a request and receive a response. Now, what you can do is compare this diagram with the definition I have given here. So what is the definition? I said an API is an interface developed to enable data transfer and data communication. Data transfer and data communication is nothing but request and response. Like, login and logout is sending a request and response. Make a payments and login is sending a request and response. Make a payments and add to cart is sending a request and response. So it is to enable data communication. So who is doing the data communication between multiple modules? So here all the 4 modules are talking to each other. And where are these 4 modules present? In an enterprise application, which is nothing but Amazon.in application. See, now the definition is very easy to remember, right? With the help of this diagram. Now, you guys tell me, am I clear with what is an API? Is the definition clear for everyone?
So Kiran,
Yes, please go ahead.
are APIs only for ERP? Only for enterprise
APIs,
applications?
no. It is for any application. It can be a consumer application. It can be an enterprise application. I'm just using the word enterprise here. It can be even for
Okay.
consumer
So it's not specific.
application.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's for any application, irrespective of the size of the project. Okay. Any questions from anyone, guys?
One question, like when you said the module checks with his internal database, would that be also an API call or is there any other way?
See, from the front end to back end, it will be an API call. From the
Okay.
back end to the server, it will be an API call. From the server to database, it will be a database query.
Okay, so
So-
when we say specifically login module, it directly interacts with the database, or it interacts with something else with API, and then the database comes in. How does that
Okay.
work?
Okay, I get your question. I'll answer it right now also, but at a very high level. But when I'm talking about this point, your question gets 100% answered when this point I'm talking in chapter 1. Usually
I
what
understand.
happens is,
Mhm.
yeah, so usually what happens is in any project, right, irrespective of the organization and the project, you have the front end application, which is nothing but your web application that runs on a browser. This talks to the backend. Backend is nothing but your middleware application where the intelligence is built. Then the backend will talk to the server application where your database layer is hosted. So the communication from front end to backend will be in the form of APIs. Okay. And from the backend to the server will also be in the form of APIs. And from the server to the database, it will be in the form of your SQL queries. Is that clear now?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. But more explanation about this, definitely I will be helping you guys once I come to that topic, because there are certain prerequisites that we should discuss before we go to the extensive topic. Okay, there's a
Understand. I'll
question
wait.
from Karthik. Is this functional communication one after another or parallel communication? So Karthik, the answer is parallel communication. Okay, it cannot be sequential. It can be parallel, and it's also a functional communication, but done in a parallel way. Okay, now, so I have answered first question. The question is, how are these modules talking to each other? The answer is the technology they use is APIs. Now, another way how the industry defines that API is, I will write down here. An API acts as an intermediary between a producer application and consumer application. This is another way how developers define the industry defines. And this is very similar to what I have told, just that the words have changed here. Now, what is a producer application and a consumer application? Very simple. Any application that produces data or that produces a request, that produces data is called as a producer application, and the consumer application is the one that consumes the data. Let us take some simple examples to understand. See, all of us, I mean, if I talk about the current generation Z, right, and including you and I also, generation Y or generation X, we are a little lazy, right? I mean, I think every one of us has to accept this, because with the evolution of quick commerce by Swiggy, Zomato in India, you are able to order the groceries, you are able to order the vegetables, you are able to order the food that you want in just 10 minutes or 15 minutes. That's the promise assurance given by the the quick commerce companies. And since human beings are super lazy, we rely on those things, right? So here, let's say, after this class is completed, I'm little lazy and I would like to order some food, using a food delivery app. So when I order some food, let's say I'm ordering pizza from my smartphone, and the order goes to the food delivery app, and that guy goes to the restaurant from where I wanted an order to be delivered. That guy picks up the order and then delivers back to me, right? So who is the producer in this example? Who is the consumer in this example? Producer naturally is the restaurant which is preparing my pizza. Consumer is definitely Kiran, because I am going to consume the pizza. And who is that food delivery app guy? What name should I give to him? API, because he is the intermediary between the consumer who is eating pizza and the producer who is preparing the pizza. That food delivery boy, I call him as an API here, because he is acting as an intermediary interface between a producer application and a consumer application. So if I take this example of my Amazon.in, when logout is sending a request to login, and the request is Mayank logged in? Login is saying, yes, Mayank is logged in the form of response. So the producer here is login, because login is producing the response. And logout is the consumer, because he is consuming the response given by login. Similarly, when make a payment is sending a request to login to find out whether Mayank is logged in, login is the producer, make payments is the consumer. Between make a payments module and add to shopping cart module, whoever is sending the response, in this case add to cart is sending the response, so that guy add to cart is the producer application, and make a payment is the consumer application. Okay, so simple definition: producer application produces responses, consumer application sends a request. So an API is always present between two people, one guy who is asking a question and another guy who is giving the response. Nothing but between a producer application and a consumer application. Is that clear, guys, until now? Guys, is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Now comes the second question in the diagram. So logout is talking to login, login is talking to logout by sending request and response. But in which format do they communicate the request and the response? Like right now I'm talking to you, in which format I'm exchanging data with you, and in which format you are exchanging data with me? English, right? Sometimes it can be Hindi, sometimes it can be our local languages that we speak. But when it comes to software, when it comes to the modules, when it comes to APIs, how do they communicate data with each other? So the answer for this is, these modules, they talk to each other using data descriptive languages. So I will say APIs communicate using data descriptive languages, such as there are so many data descriptive languages in the industry. The first one that we had in the industry is text format. Later in the industry, we got HTML format. Later in the industry, we got XML format. Later in the industry, we got JSON format. And these days, few companies are using YAML format. So many other formats are there. So these are the formats in which APIs communicate data or exchange data in the form of request and response between any two modules. Think of it like this. Like I can talk to you in English, assume it is text. I can speak to you right now in Hindi, assume it is HTML. I can speak to you in my mother tongue, which is Telugu, like think of it like XML. I can speak to you in French or Spanish, which is like JSON and YAML. So these are different data descriptive formats in which the modules communicate with each other. However, point that you have to notice, text format and HTML format are 100% outdated. Today, the industry is not recommending the developers to use text or HTML as the format to transfer the data between two modules. Coming to XML format, it is 90% outdated. So this text format 100% outdated technology today. HTML also 100% outdated. Whereas when it comes to XML, it is 90% outdated, which means 10% the usage is still there in the industry. Coming to JSON, it is being used 100%. Today, all the developers in any organization, when they are exchanging data between any two modules by using APIs, they prefer to transfer the data from this module to that module using JSON. Now, what is JSON? Don't worry, we will come there also. But they use JSON format. YAML is like, I would say, a parent of JSON. And I'm not sure about how much percentage people are using it, but it is similar to JSON only. But forget about YAML. Not many are preferring it right now. JSON is the king right now, I would say. It is the one used to transfer data across multiple modules. Okay, so APIs communicate data using these data descriptive language formats. Is that clear for everyone until this point? Any questions that you see for me here?
So Kiran, XML is only for SOAP APIs, or it can be used for REST APIs also?
Both. It can be used for REST APIs, also SOAP APIs.
Okay.
It's the choice of the developer. Okay. Yeah. Now, obviously, the question is, you might say, what is this text, HTML, XML? Can we talk a little bit about that? Definitely, I will talk about it right away. However, we are not developers, so we don't have to go to the extent how a developer thinks. Only for the high level understanding, we'll talk about it. An example of text format will be, I'll write some dummy examples. So if I talk about text format example, point that you have to remember is XML format does not have any syntax. One second. Yeah. So coming to text format does not follow any syntax, meaning it does not have any structure. Think of text as you riding a bicycle on the main road. So do you think you have to follow the traffic signals? Not necessary. You can take a left turn whenever you want. You can take a right turn whenever you want. Just that you have to be careful on the road, but you can break the rules. Because a person who is riding a bicycle in India, you don't have much rules. That is like text format. And an example of text format can be like, there is no rule that you have to put a flower bracket or close it. There is no rule that you have to put a round brackets. There is no rule that you have to put a semicolon. There is no rule that you have to put things in double quotations. No such rules are there in text format. Example, I wanted to send a message to you guys saying welcome to day 1 class. So I can write it in any format. I can say welcome to day 1 class. See, I'm not following proper English here, meaning grammatically it's not correct, right? But still it is okay because it's in text format. You don't have to follow any syntax or structure. Like you are dancing on the road. No one can do anything except beating you around, right? I mean, they cannot challan you, they cannot seize your vehicle because you are walking. At the max, you will get some, beatings from public. That's how text format is. And this format is used probably 30 years before, not today. Today, no one recommends to use text format. Then we'll talk about HTML format. HTML, we know, right? It is used for designing web applications. The format is pretty much simple. It starts with HTML tag. It ends with HTML tag. Every tag has to end with a forward slash. In between, you will have multiple tags. Like I can have a body tag. Again, it has to be closed. And in between, I can have another tag like paragraph. Again, any tag that you open has to be closed. And let's say in the paragraph, I wanted to write something like welcome to day 1 class. So this is how HTML syntax looks like, or HTML example looks like. Okay, and similarly, if I talk about XML now, I'll just copy this. Writing is not important here. If you just see the HTML tag, it's a clue that the body is coming in HTML format. And if you see XML format, it starts with like this, and here you will have XML. Here instead of HTML, you will see XML. And maybe as an additional thing, you might see an envelope tag also. And every tag that you open has to be closed. And here you can have something like message. Yeah, that's how an XML syntax looks like. And I'm going to keep it in orange color because it's not 100% outdated. It's 90% outdated. So when you see the XML tag, you have to remember that it's in XML format. This is how the developers typically write. And whatever syntax I wrote is a simple example, not 100% true syntax I'm using. Finally, JSON format. Now, this is something that you have to focus. This is very important throughout my course. Because if you don't understand what is JSON, we are going to have some hard times for sure. So first thing first, JSON stands for Java. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. That is a full form given for JSON. And if someone says what is JSON, apart from full form, you can say that it is a mechanism through which data will be transferred from one module to another module. Similarly, the same definition goes for XML, HTML, and text format or YAML format. JSON is a mechanism through which data flows from module 1 to module 2, module 2 to module 5, like that. And it is lightweight format to transfer data across modules. Okay, why the industry is recommending JSON is because it is very lightweight. It does not have megabytes of size. It is like in bytes only maximum. And it is robust, sophisticated, and secured. Meaning whatever data you are sending in JSON from one module to another module, your data is guaranteed. It is safe. It is secured. Okay. Now, I may not be able to explain how it is becoming secure, why it is robust, why it is sophisticated, because it is not something that you and I have to discuss in this course, because it's a format developed by the industry and we are just using it, right? Now, coming to the syntax of it, I'll say it follows key value pair structure. So it follows something called key and value. What is key and value? I will explain. And the syntax of it will look something like this. It starts with a flower bracket and it ends with a flower bracket. In between, you will have in double quotations one key, and every key will have an associated value. Like this, you can have multiple keys and multiple values. Let us say the developer wanted to have 3 keys. And the last one will not have comma. Comma you write only to ensure that there is another key and value coming. This is a syntax. Now, what is a key and what is a value? It can be anything. Like here, to give an example here. So here I will write key is trainer name and the value is Kiran because the name of the trainer is Kiran. Then course, what course we are currently learning. Let's say Postman Tool API automation. So that is the key and that is the value. And then timings. I would say 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Indian Standard Timings. And let's say duration. Maybe I will say 30 hours like this. So like this, we can write any keys and any associated values. When you see an example like this, when you see any data which is following this kind of syntax, you should quickly realize that it is following JSON format. Okay, this is a simple example I have written. It can follow a little complex also, meaning you can have internal arrays also inside this. That is how JSON looks like. Am I clear to everyone in terms of understanding this APIs communicate data using data descriptor languages? Any questions that you have for me?
Yeah, Kiran, on JSON, is the value dependent on the keys data type or something like that?
Okay, data type is applicable only for value. Key is always a string.
Okay.
Okay, key is always a string, and data type of the value can be integer, can be a number, can be a float, can be a double, can be a string, can be a character.
So anything, again, the value should be in quotes, double quotes, or if it is a numeric? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. See, okay. This one, right? This double quotation is mandatory in JSON, but the JSON is so flexible that in certain examples, you can write without double quotations also. When it is a numeric, sometimes the developers avoid double quotations. Okay.
So,
Any
Kiran, like with respect to the value, so you don't need to define any data type for the value. It automatically takes it up, or how does it understand like what kind of value is like present in the key?
Okay, so two ways to answer this. As a test engineer, I don't have to worry about the data type of the value because the payloads or the JSON format is usually developed in advance by the development team and they pass it on to us. We have to just change the values. If the developer says use double quotation, we use it. The developer says don't use double quotations in the value, we don't use it. We just follow him because he has defined it in the schema already. Second way to answer it is, if I'm a developer, we have something called JSON schema. So JSON schema has the definitions of the below points. Who is defining JSON schema? The developer. Okay, so this is like answer to, second answer to your question. So JSON schema has the definitions of which fields are mandatory and optional. Which means out of these 4 fields, trainer name, course, timings, duration, which is mandatory, which is optional. That definition is available with the developer, or if you see JSON schema document, it will contain it. Then the data type of each field. What is the data type of Kiran? Meaning trainer name, course, timings, duration. That definition is there in data type. Then the data length of each field. Data length is like, when I say duration, what is the maximum number of characters it can have in the response, in the value. Right now I have used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters. So whether it is maximum 8 or 10 or 5 characters, that data length is also defined in JSON schema. Okay, the developer will take care of that. As an automation tester, we might be asked to validate JSON schema for every response that you get from server. Then we will validate the JSON schema. Example, if you want more realistic understanding, what I'll do, I'll take a small example that's available on the internet. This is one simple API. Okay, so if you see here, this is one API request, and this is the response I got from server, where it says the ID that you are searching for is 2. That ID 2 belongs to a person whose email is this. His first name is Janet. His last name is Weaver. His avatar is this. So we have some information coming from the response of server. In this, I can show you what is the data schema, like what fields are mandatory, optional, what is the data type, what is the data length. To know this, I'll just copy the response. I'll just do a Google search, JSON schema validator. Go to any one search result. I'm going to the third search result. I'll paste here the response body, which I got from developer, and I'll click on format. One second. So here I'm getting schema is valid. I'll do one thing. I would like to show you one more URL, which is better. I'm pasting it here. Validate. Okay. JSON schema generator. Go into the first search result to see if this helps me. Okay, so I have pasted it here. And you see on the right hand side, the JSON schema is generated. So it says the ID data type is number, the email data type is string, the first name is string, last name is string, avatar is string. So here the data types are exposed. And here it will tell what fields are mandatory. So required means these 5 fields are mandatory. And then you also have the support tag here. So in the support also, it is telling me the data types and which fields are mandatory. Okay, so the online tools will help you to get the JSON schema. Am I clear, guys?
Yeah, but in API automation perspective, like does a tester like needs to know the schema? Will it be useful for him in automation level, or like it is not required?
I would say personally, I would say it is needed. The reason is the developer says that Kiran first name will always be a string. And as a test engineer, unless I test it, I cannot validate it, right? So I don't want to blindly depend on developer that first name will always be a string. What if in some situations, the first name is coming as a number? Then my schema will fail, right? Because according to schema, what is the first name? String.
String.
But in my automation, when I'm doing some negative testing or edge testing, I somehow got the first name as integer. Then my automation should tell me that Kiran JSON schema failed, because I
Yeah,
cannot
it's a
manually
negative
check every
scenario.
time. Correct. Every time we cannot manually check which is a string, which is a number. Once I code it in an automation way, the automation should tell me what is passing and what is failing.
Okay, I mean, like I just wanted to know, will this be a scenario in the automation?
Yes, it will be a
Okay,
scenario.
okay,
And Postman will help us also to do that.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we have just completed these 2 points. Like, what are APIs? An API is an enterprise application. Sorry, APIs acts as an intermediate guy between a producer and a consumer application and enabling data transfer between multiple modules in a given enterprise or consumer application. And how do they exchange data? Using JSON, XML, HTML, text. But mostly in the industry today, we use either XML, very less possibilities of XML, and maximum we use JSON only. And the next thing I would like to talk about is, like, I'll talk about client and server architecture in tomorrow's class because we cannot complete that in the leftover time. But one thing that you have to remember is, why are we learning API testing course, right? And why am I teaching API testing course? Forget the tool, but why API testing? Why should you learn? Why should I teach? Simple. Today, if you look at your smartphone, if you unlock your smartphone right now and count the number of apps you have installed, 95% of the apps present on your smartphone are making use of APIs. And if you open your computer browser and browse any application like Amazon, Flipkart, Book My Show, Swiggy, Zomato, whatever applications you open generally, like Facebook, Instagram, social media, email applications, movie websites, news related websites, etc. Any application you open on the browser, 95% of the applications you're opening on your browsers, they make use of APIs. Which means you or me or anyone is indirectly working with APIs when you browse anything, when you open any application to complete your business task. I have to send an email today. I'm making use of APIs. I have to put a feed on my LinkedIn. I'm making use of APIs. I have to book a movie ticket for second show today with my family. I am making use of APIs. I have to book a food order, or probably I would need an ice cream now through a mobile app. I'm making use of APIs. I have to book a cab. I'm making use of APIs. So all these apps, right? If I have to name them explicitly, Swiggy, Zomato, Book My Show, Uber, Ola, all the social media applications, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the quick commerce or e-commerce applications like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Meesho, okay, or email applications like Yahoo Email, Gmail, Outlook, or Microsoft Email, or Outlook Email, or Rediff Email, movie websites, whether it is related to Telugu industry, Tamil industry, Hindi industry, English industry, all these applications, including the newspapers like Times of India or any other local newspapers, every application makes use of APIs. So when the world is making use of APIs to build their technology, it has become mandatory for a developer to know the basics of API development and to integrate APIs seamlessly into their architecture. Equally, the test engineers are also expected to test APIs. And testing the APIs can be done manually or through automation. But when it comes to APIs, everyone says automation of APIs is important because it is easy, it is not difficult if you take the right career path. And automation testing of APIs has become a default skill set these days, meaning a default expectation. Let's say again, I'll take Arun Kumar as an example. Arun says, Kiran, I know manual testing. What should I do? Let's say Arun Kumar says, I have 2 years experience, 5 years experience. When you give it an interview, the interviewer naturally expects you to know APIs and manual testing or automation testing of APIs. But when Arun Kumar says, no, my experience last 5 years is manual testing in banking sector, insurance sector, the interviewer says, I don't care. If you know automation testing of APIs or manual testing of APIs, then your 5 years of experience makes sense. Because API testing is a default expectation. It's a mandatory skill set these days. Because every project that you take has got APIs and microservices and web services. So if you can't test the backend code, then our application cannot be certified through the software testing team, meaning it cannot pass the quality gatekeeper. Okay. If you're testing only the browser-based application, you are doing only 25% of testing, not 100% of testing. Only when you test the APIs, you will understand what you have been missing out all these years in your career. Like I spent nearly, I would say, 8 years of my career the first 8 years of my career without testing APIs. And I assume that I am great because I do a lot of fantastic manual testing, better than my colleagues, and I used to take pride out of it. But when I started understanding APIs, because my project demanded, that's when I realized that in the last 8 years, I was never doing 100% testing the job. It was only some 30-40% testing job, writing manual test cases, executing, raising bugs, and then saying the application is ready for production deployment. So many applications went to productions. Luckily, no one complained, but that's okay. But if you have not tested backend, you are doing injustice to your job. And if a customer is not asking for API automation, that's okay. But if customer says we expect you to do everything, then API testing becomes a mandatory skill set. Okay, I'm not saying this because I'm teaching and you have to join the course. It's okay even if you don't want to join the course, but that's a default skill set these days. Okay, and probably in the upcoming classes you will understand why this statement makes more sense to you guys. Okay, cool. So couple of questions. Can we automate APIs? 100% yes, Karthik. Microservices and web services from Shiva Prasad, they naturally are your SOAP APIs and REST APIs, which I'm going to cover in my course. They are also automatable. Mayank says apps or web of APIs in background. Kind of, Mayank, but I'll give more clarity in upcoming classes. Cool, guys. Any questions before we conclude our session for today?
Just one question regarding the course content, Kiran. I want to know, are we going to exclusively focus on the Postman, or are we touching anything with the REST assured and SOAP UI?
Okay, when it comes to the tools, only Postman in my course.
Okay.
But I will be teaching you SOAP APIs, REST APIs, automation.
So how would that differ? If we learn the REST API and how to test the REST API and SOAP UI in Postman, would it be the same in the SOAP UI tool or REST assured tool, or is it different?
Okay, it would be same in SOAP UI tool. So learning Postman tool will make you proficient in 3 other tools. SOAP UI becomes easy. Catalan Studio tool becomes easy. Insomnia tool also becomes easy because all the other tools copied the interface of Postman.
Okay. But REST assured is different.
Yeah, REST assured completely focuses on the programming part. Like you have to code everything to automate APIs.
Okay, understood. Okay, so we learn this Postman tool, we would be able to do it in the SOAP UI also.
Yes. If you just go through any normal YouTube or Udemy course also, you will feel that it is same as Postman.
Okay. As long as we can translate it into those, that would be good. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm giving you the confidence because that's how I learned the other tools after becoming kind of expert in Postman.
So Catalan and SOAP UI, we would be able to it is kind of the same technology, same basis.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thank you everyone.
So Kiran, one last question, Kiran. It's regarding, so you have discussed about the 4 modules of Amazon. So can we assume those four modules as microservices?
No, there is a difference between APIs and microservices. One second. Yeah, see, let me say like this. Every microservice will churn out APIs. So microservice is like father, APIs are like the child elements of microservice. So one microservice, I can say logout is one microservice under which I can have 2 to 3 APIs. Login can be one microservice under which I can have 1 API or 100 APIs. Clear?
Yeah, okay. Yep, thank you.
Are we going to learn this? Are we going to learn this course through any real-time project?
Yes. Not one, minimum 2 to 3 projects we are going to deal in this course.
Okay. Sir, one question, please. Sorry for taking your time.
No problem. Go ahead.
So next month you said that you will be teaching the REST assured thing, right? That will be a separate course, you said. So will this the contents that you teach in this course, will that be a prerequisite for that course, or will that be a completely different thing and you just expect the programming knowledge as a prerequisite for that course?
Okay, this course is not a prerequisite for rest assured because I teach couple of pointers and couple of initial classes to make everyone familiar with the world of API testing. So my first 5 classes in this course will be same as first 5 classes even in rest assured API automation. And second point is programming language. You don't have to learn the real Java programming language and join the course, but if you have said that yes Kiran, in my college I learned some basics of Java, I remember some basic inheritance constructor, I understand the variable initialization. When you write the code, at least I can read and comprehend it. That's enough.
Thank you.
I mean, I will ensure that whatever code I write will be easier for you to understand. It won't be Greek and Latin for sure, because that's how even I started. In fact, if you talk about my career, I was a developer in the initial days of my career. I hated development so much that I have to shift to testing. But now, even though I hate it, I'm still forced to do coding in automation. Right. So do not worry about that thing. In Selenium, it becomes mandatory to come with Java, but in rest assured, it is not that much important.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, guys, I have another class
When-
right now to take.
Sorry, when the rest assured class starts and how many days it will go?
It will start in the next month, probably after I complete this current batch. So it will start around February 10th or February 15th. It goes for 1 month.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. And guys, those, again, I'm saying, in case if you have any conflicts, you can always purchase these live class recorded videos. Could be a win-win situation for both of us in case if you think that helps you out. And you can always get back to us on the WhatsApp group, or you can WhatsApp me personally also if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you over there as well. Okay. Fine. And I'm sorry, we will continue the class tomorrow. I have another class starting now. So thank you very much for joining today's class. Hope I made maximum of your questions cleared and the concepts clear. Tomorrow we'll talk about client and server architecture, which is very important for APIs. Thank you. Good night, guys.
Thank you.